Hello, my name is Veronica and welcome into the Learning Lab. And in today's lab, we're going to take a look at this wonderful Tonic Verso purse die that I received in my video from Christmas with Jean. Come on in and let's get started. Upon receiving this beautiful set from Jean, I immediately wanted to go and create something. But as soon as I opened it up, I realized I was not going to be able to because of the size of this die, and I no longer had a die cutter to accommodate it. If you remember in my Spellbinder's radical drastic surgery, I wound up throwing it away because with the plastic gears, it was just going to keep breaking, and I didn't have time to keep performing surgery on it. So I put my brain together and figured out what could I make using this wonderful die. Now let me share that with you. This is what I created. I decided to make a box, and then I decided to use those pieces from the purse to decorate all the way around on the outside, and then I also used them there on the inside. And I thought this turned out so lovely. I did want to put some feet on there, but when I went into my stash, I realized I was out of feet. So what I'd like to do today is put this together with you. So some of the materials I used this poster board from the Dollar Tree. It's the Jot, and it contains a gold, a red, a silver, a blue, and a green. And they're all in varying sizes. You're going to need chipboard, and I've already cut mine. I cut mine using my Cricut. Now I have to tell you, I do have that metallic Gemini coming to my house because I do need a larger die cutter because I have some seriously large dies. But this one, I actually scanned it into my brother's Scan and Cut, brought it into my Cricut because I have the knife blade, and I cut it using that. But I am going to put it to the test with the Gemini and see if it'll cut through my chipboard. Then you're going to need 8 pieces of your delicate die. And then you're going to need 8 pieces to lay on top, and then these pieces will lay on top of there. Now you're going to need some pieces to hold it together. And I cut 8 of these, and they are 2 by 3.5, still need to be scored. And I cut 8 of these, and they are 2 by 7.5 because 7.5 is the length of this piece. Now this particular piece is a little heavier. And this is some that I got from my friend Anna. Her husband works at a printing shop, and they had paper that they were getting rid of, and she said, come on by and get yourself some. So I did. It's a large sheet, and actually her husband cut it down for me so that I could bring it home. And then the pieces that I cut these layers out also came from him. It's more like a linen weight, and as you can see, it's pretty flexible. I didn't need it to be heavy because I already had the chipboard, and then I had this piece that was going to go on top. You're going to need some glue, some tape, a bone folder, and when I put this down to cut it out, I did use my secret. Let me move this out of the way and show it to you again. When I cut this, I used my Sizzix Big Kick, and the sandwich that I used looked like this. I just had my multi-purpose platform. Then I had 2 cutting plates, and I put it down. But the thing I did on here is that I used some of this micro pour tape to hold it down. Let's come in a little. So I used some of this micro pour tape to hold it down, the 2 pieces together, and I cut it on some of that foam that I've used before. And when I peel this off, let me tell you, everything comes off with it. All of these little pieces fall right out. And as you can see, that's very clean. And all of these, I mean, I really don't need to do much to it except tap on it, and you can see all of those pieces fall right out. And that's how I was able to get all of my red and my gold to just cleanly pop out of there. And usually I just take it and fling it against something. But when you do that, the person cleaning up behind you doesn't really like that. So I'm going to encourage you not to do that. But if you want to, do it over a bowl, and that's what I did. And so I have a lot of these pieces that I can use in a shaker card. But there it is. Just a little bit of foam underneath where you're cutting. So you would have foam, paper, then your die. And no, I did not cut my foam to shape. This was it after I used it maybe 4 times, and those pieces just got worn away. So now this one, I might be able to get one more cut out of it, but then that's going to be it for that. Okay, back to our box. So back to the materials list, you're going to need a scoreboard. In my last one, I used distress stains on those edges. Distress stains are wet, so I might go with an acrylic paint, or I just might use some of my Spectrum Noir glitter markers just to cover any of those raw edges that just might show. So in addition to the other bone folder, I like this one too, because that allows me to get inside of the box and really press that down. And then I'm going to use this little acrylic block to help me to cut my tape. And of course, a small pair of scissors, and then a little pokey tool if you need it to poke out some of those that don't naturally fall on out. One other thing we're going to need is some paper that is going to cover the bottom, and I'll probably use something plain with a little red in it. But then we're also going to need a decorative piece that's going to go on the inside. And I have chosen to use this mercury glass from Recollections. Don't know if they still have it in the stores. I got it at Christmas time. And we are going to use the red. And that piece is going to need to be 7 3/8 by 7 3/8. The first thing we need to do is to score our support strips. You're going to have 4 that are going to be on the outside of the box and 4 on the inside of the box for each of the ones that you cut. And I generally try to cut an extra 1 or 2 just in case I mess up. Now it's important that you establish what's the inside and what's the outside, because that is going to determine the fold of your paper. So because I know this is 2 inches, I don't have to go all the way up into this corner because sometimes that can be a little bothersome. I know I'm still going at the 1 inch mark, so I'm going to score it at 3. If it's more comfortable for you to put it here and score at 1, then go ahead and do so. Which means that once I put my glue on, I want this bumpy side to be up. So I'm going to fold it that way and score, and that's the one that's going to sit on the inside of my box. Now for the outside, same thing. The only thing it's going to determine is where you're going to put it. So now this is on the outside, so my bump is going to be on the outside, and I'm going to do it just like that, and then I'll come back in with my bone folder and give that a nice crease down. So this little bump is on the inside. This bump is on the outside. So just keep your outside pieces in one spot and your inside pieces in another. It's the same thing for the longer ones. Scoring it at 1. Those are all outside. These are all inside. Now it's time to put some adhesive on there. So here's what I mean about outside and inside. This is going to be on the inside of my box like this at the corner. So that means I need to put tape on the outside. I think you've caught on to my trick. Now I am using this tape because this is an item that is not going to get a ton of handling. Were it going to, I would use this. And now this is what I did use on the first one, but I'm not going to use it on all of the pieces on this one. And I did incorporate, whoops, some of this on there. Oh, it's because I'm not holding it the right way. So what I'm going to do is just put some tape on here to cover the back on on all of these pieces. So now for the ones that are going to go on the outside, which that will be my corner, I am going to put the tape on the inside of here. Now once I am done with all of these, I am going to go back on all of them and smooth out the air bubbles. But I was just thinking, man, I should have been smoothing it out as I was going. So for example, when I put this down and I go up here to chop it off, why don't I just push this up to the edge? Yeah. That's why it's called the Learning Lab. You learn as you go. I don't know. I'll probably still go back and I don't know, but that's pretty good step. So now all of these are done for my outside and for my inside. And you'll know which is which, because if the tape is here, then this has got to be the piece on the inside. And if the tape is here, then it's the piece on the outside that you're going to put for your support. So now it's a matter of deciding what I'm going to use. Let's try this fired brick for the distress. Yeah. When I compare that with that mercury glass. Okay, let's try the candied apple. Might be a better fit. How about that on top of that? I think I like that even better. So I may be using a combination of the candied apple and the fired brick. I stopped buying those after a point. This one is barn door. Oh, and that's what I wish I had. This is an acrylic paint, which is going to slow us down because it's going to take longer to dry. But, I think I like this for my struts. And I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do the acrylic paint. I think I'm going to go with a combination of these two. If I need to do a dab of vintage photo to darken it, I think I'll do that. Yeah, I like the combination of the three of those. So let's play. Let's see. It's a matter of what do I want on the very top. Now, yeah, I'm really going to need this candy apple in there. So if I put all three, I can get a nice dark one. So I'm going with this combination down here for my edges on my paper. So when I put these onto here, you're actually going to see these that glue on, because this is the part where I need to cover. And that's what these are for. So for the ones on the outside, that's what I'm going to do to every outside piece that I have. Now when it comes to the inside, you're not really going to see it because your gold is going, well, in our case it'll be the red, but for my inside pieces I am still going to go around the inside and do all of those connectors that are going to come, because I don't want any raw chipboard exposed. You don't need a ton of this because not a lot of it's going to show, but in case some of it is exposed, I want to be prepared. Now this one you won't need much. This red flows like butter. So I'm going to finish these up. For the inside and the outside. And I'll be back. These are all completed, and as I am using a heavier weight paper, it's actually able to hold up to all of the distress stain that I'm putting on it. But they right now are quite wet, so I'm putting these down in another area to dry, and then we're going to continue on with our project. Now we are ready for our chipboard pieces. And on the last one, which I started doing it on this, I had gone around the edges with some of the distress stain, but I didn't want it to break down the fibers of the chipboard too much since it's so water-based. So I have pulled out one of my Spectrum Noir glitter pens, and let's just see what it looks like. I can always cover it up if I don't like it, but you know what? I like it. Oh yeah, let me see if I can get in closer. Ooh, wee mama. And it has a little bit of glitter there. All right, I'm loving this. This is beautiful. And it does not matter if you go over the edge because that is actually going to be covered. So don't give it a second thought. Okay, that's all done and super quick. I'm not sure how much of this 7.5 by 7.5 piece will show on the edge. So I do know that I did distress stains on it last time. So let's go ahead and just put some on here, just in case it ends up showing. Those are all done. I'm just going to get them a fan to let them dry. It doesn't take long for that to dry. Like that's dry already. So now we're ready to start to put together our box. I'm going to slide this forward. So this is the basic outline of what we have. Just like that. Because when you fold it up, that is going to give you the gap in there that you're going to need. Just get all of those pressed into place. And now we have the beginnings of our awesome little box. And there it is. Oh, lovely. Now, looking at this, you can see why we're going to need those struts. Because this does not totally close. So you're going to be able to see the red piece that's going to go inside of there. So now we're bringing back our inside pieces. And what we're going to do with these, they're all nice and dry. And if yours aren't, feel free to zap them with your heat gun. But these are now going to be placed right there. That is all you need. And now that needs to be done on all 4 sides. Now that I have all of these in place, I'm going to go ahead and stick down these pieces. Now the next thing is to put these pieces down that are going on the inside. And I'll start down here at the bottom. You may have a better view. But it's going to sit right here, abutted up to that fold line. But it doesn't go all the way to the edge of here. It actually lines up square with this edge. So you'll have that part that is hanging out. So let's get one of these done and see what I'm doing. But my main concern is lining it straight up with this edge. And there it is. So what I'll do this time is once I'm done, I'll just take those cutter bees and I can just trim. I'll take my cutter bees and then I can just trim that away. I tried to make a template and it wasn't my friend. So again, I'm going to go ahead and continue to put all of these pieces down and I'll be back. So I wanted to come back to show that I put these 2 up here, and I'm going to do the same thing by pushing this up, and then I'm going to put 2 more that are down here. So on this upper piece, I've removed that hangover edge, and then I'm going to go ahead and do that on this bottom piece. Okay. So now this is what you have, and we're actually ready to start putting this box together. And this corner is just going to come up and marry this tip just like that. Grabbing some cellophane tape, I'm going to bring this just so I can hold this together because I want these edges to be right. There, they meet. Tape that, and it's holding those two edges together. And now I can come back and press this down. Perfect. And then once I get all of those done, I'll just trim off this end. Okay. All right, that side is done, and now on to the other side. I wanted to pull this up and put a piece of tape here, just so I know where my tips are. Okay. And there's no way I can hold this so you can see it. Before I stick that down. Okay, so here's something I did over here, and let me show you. I had pulled this without this being on the inside. So good thing I only secured it with a little bit of removable tape. So now I can put that piece on the inside. Now I can line these back up and stick down my tape. So I don't know if I can get up in this corner well enough so you can see exactly what I'm doing here. But there's this space that you can see from here. But I want to push this in and against that corner as much as I can get it. And then seal it down so I don't have a huge gap right up here. So now we are just going to trim this off. Okay, then let's trim this off. And there we are. You have got the basics of your box. It looks great. Okay, so I messed up. I realized that before I pulled up these sides, I actually put down my inside pieces. But I don't think it's going to be a problem because I can turn my box to put those in. So what I'm going to do is take these and put them down on the inside. Move that over. On my other one, I did use tape, but I'm gonna go wet glue on this in case I need to squish this around a little bit. And I also keep some of these on hand to spread out my glue. Bring this back in, all the way to the back, down the sides, and we're good to go. Then I'm going to do that on all four sides. Again, what I did before was I put these two sides down first, and then I glued these and then I stuck those in. But it'll still work this way. Just keep rotating your box, dry fitting, and then gluing it down. So once more on the dry fit, put it in, press it down, Go over to the other side, and if you do it with your bone folder, even better. And where you press, that's where you're going to need to trim. And the rest of that fits fine. So now when I pull this out, I see that I need to trim where the fold was. And I would trim just to the outside of it, because I'd rather cut a little by a little than take too much and, you know, then you're messed up. But that's also why we did the red on the inside, just in case we did that, it won't look too horrible. Check it from the outside, make sure that's pushed below the rim. Looks like it's good to go, so I'm going to glue it down. So here is the last one for the dry fit. And I'm trimming a bit again, just to the outside of it. Looks like that needs a trim. And over here needs a little trim. Try it again. Fits perfectly. And let's add our glue. That part is done. Now we can add our red pieces to the inside. And with these, I am not going to trim them at all, but I am just going to force them into the corner. And any part that overlaps, it'll just meet up with the other red. So where I have some of the larger pieces, I'm just going to drop some glue on there. But if you can go outside and blast it with some spray adhesive, I would say do that. And just a little bit so you can see where I'm putting that. Once I have those pieces, I can come around the outside and lay a strip. Personally, I think that glob is going to be way too much, so let me spread that out. There, making sure that I have this on the back wall nice and snug. And that this part comes up over my white liner on the back. Alright, looks good to me. And then I'm going to press down on it and not wipe because I don't want to spread the glue. And this paper towel is just slightly damp, and that's so it won't stick to the glue. And then once I get that down, I'm going to go here on the outside and do some pressing. This is going in. My focus is on the edges here. I want to make sure I hit those, and then everything else gets pressed in. And a little pouncing motion there. Looking very lovely. Okay, so now for the outside. And that's where you're going to need your outside struts or your outside connectors. And they are going to go on here just like so. And that is to give some reinforcement to this. So I'm going to start here like we did on the other one and place that on the edge. got it. Put that down, and then I'll bring the other piece around. Then I'll do the opposite side and then do the two opposite sides. So just to show that again, I've removed the tape. But I'm going to take this piece and line it up right there, and you can see where we have that nice gap. This is going to come as close to that edge as I can get it, because the score is going to help with the gappage. And that's just going to come and fold right underneath, and it's going to keep the box nice and tight. So now I have all of my bottom pieces put on, and I have put on 3 of my side pieces, and then I'll put on the last side piece with you, and it looks like this. So we're going to put it down, and when we put it down, we're going to make sure that this is going to come across where the two corners join. It's not going to go all the way up to the top, because in hindsight, I probably, instead of making this 3.5, maybe I should have done, I don't know, 3 6/8 maybe. It would have made it go all the way up, and then I would have just had to trim. But because we've got it, we're going to put it on. And this little space where my tape didn't quite make it, I'm just going to put a little glue on there. Pat that in. And then coming back up here, it's basically the same thing I did on the bottoms, except I want this to go in where this is. So lining that up, getting as close to the bottom as I can. And then press that down. Looks a little wonky, it's okay. We're going around a curve. And now I just need to trim that again. Now on my last one, I took a piece that was the exact same size as this, and I covered it in paper and I glued it together. And that's where you can see here. But here's what happened. Because I added on that extra depth, I had to slide this down a little bit in order to make this line up. And over here, I didn't realize that was what I needed to do. And yeah, so I had to get some of the paper that I covered that in and kind of put it around. I could try to fix this by putting another gold strip across there. I could totally do that. But since this one is mine and it's on the bottom, I'm not that concerned about it. But on this one, I am a little more concerned. So some options I had for doing this is that now I want this to go on the inside of my box to give it some sturdiness, and that's why it's cut just a little bit smaller on all sides. What I want to do is cover the bottom of this, and I'm thinking about using my wood grain to cover the bottom and bring it up the sides just a little bit. Now, if you do it this way, you don't need to do this. If you don't cover the whole thing, you're going to need to ink those edges. Because when I come back with my remaining pieces to go on the side, you will get to see any part that you might have missed. So you're going to need those sides to be red. So just showing a couple of options there. And I think I'm going to go with the initial thought I had after doing this. And that is to go with a piece under here that'll just cover the whole thing. Now I know this is 7.5 by 7.5, so I could cut this to 9 by 9, I think, and be okay. So let me cut this down and I'll be right back. Okay, so we are back with this, and it is 9 by 9. So when I flip this over, and put it on, I'm good. So what I'm going to do is get some tape on this, and then we're going to put it down. So now that I have my tape all stuck down, I am thinking I probably should have just taped the back of this. But again, since this is different from the first one I did, we're going to learn here together. So I have this down because I know this tape is 1 inch wide. My base is 7.5, and this piece is 9. So what I'm going to try to do is get it close to being centered in those areas. And this also, if you put a piece here, it helps you have somewhere to put your fingers to hold this down and then peel it off at the last minute. So this is looking pretty good. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is press my hand in the center, and we're going to get that stuck down. And then just peel away this tape. Stick that edge, peel away that one. Let's peel this one from under here. Perfect. And let's grab these. And by sitting it on that edge, I'm able to shift it around a little bit to get it where I need it to be. Okay, cool beans. Now I just need to trim and fold up these edges. And I don't have my cutting blade, so I'm gonna have to do this. And just in case I get these too short, I am going to go ahead and put this around here. Just in case I need it. Now to coax this paper to come up. Let's see, I think we're going to use this one because it can't go inside like I normally do. It's sticky. Although I probably could. I don't want to. It's just going to come up the outside a little to get the paper ready to go. Alrighty. Press those down because I did not do that. Okay, so now I'm going to bring these up. And let's do this one. Bring that on around. Nice and smooth. And then this last one. Bring that up. Nice and smooth. And that is the bottom of our box. Beautiful. Now we just got to do the outside. And it's just like I did the inside, except this doesn't need to be trimmed. This one is going to go onto here. And my chipboard is just slightly larger than my regular one, because when I brought it into Cricut Design Space, actually when I put it in Sure Cuts a lot, I had to adjust it a little bit. And once I put this on, here's where I was talking about that red, that now I can pull this up to the tip because I have that little brown on the bottom. And here we are for the final piece to come on, and I am putting it to make sure that I line it up right here at that center part, and making sure that these edges are lined up at the top. Sorry about that. Here is the box, all complete, with the layering on the outside, the inside, and the wooden base, except I don't like the raw edges that I can see going along here. So I'm going to come back in with my glitter marker pen. And again, this is Hearthside Spectrum Noir. And I am just going to take it and go around and tamp down that red. So now I need to cover the inside, and that is where I'm taking my 7 3/8 by 7 3/8 piece that I'm going to cut and put in here. And it looks like it's a tight fit, so I actually might need to trim a smidge of that off. Let's see if I can get it back out. Yeah. And it may be because of what I've put in here, so I'm going to take off probably like 1/8 of an inch on each side. So I've taken off 1/8 of an inch on each side, and as you can see, that floats in there lovely. Let's get that covered. So I have this piece cut to 9 by 9 again. Then we're going to put that down and put in the center. I am going to cover that with some tape. I'm going to use this one because it's going to go faster. Okay, I could use this, I guess. Nope, that's going to put a hole. I think I put my other score away with my board, so I'll just use this one. It's just to loosen up that paper, and I'm hoping I didn't put a hole in there because this is a sharp, sharp point. And I don't want to use that. So this is to kind of get it going. Then once I have that up, come back and make my proper folds. And I'm going to do this one just a little differently. I'm going to take this one and bring it over the corner like this. So let's bring this in. Put some here, here, and here. Uh-oh, stuck against my hand. And then these are going to just simply fold over like this. Except on here, I am going to put some tape. And I need the smaller one. And this one I'll stick on here. And there we go. This is going to go on the inside of our box. So now, let's put a little bit of tape on the back of here. And I think I might put in just a little bit along the edges here. Yep, just on the outer piece where these are. So when I put it down, I'm going to make sure those edges are caught down. See, this way. Then I'm just going to drop this onto the inside. This is gorgeous. Okay, so now that I am just about finished with this, I don't like this. I don't like that edge. So what I had done early on when I did this was I cut out some of the buckles. And I think I'm going to use this buckle to cover this part. Let's see if you can see that right there. That if I take this buckle and put a buckle on all four corners, I think that'll be fine. It'll bring that under wraps and you can't see those edges. So let's do that. Got the last ones put in there, and let's come back in to our beautiful red tray. And I didn't use these to make a purse. I used them to make a tray. Gorgeous. Oh, I mean, just gorgeous. As always, thank you for joining me in the lab. Please be sure to check out my blog at inkillusions.blogspot.com. Until then.